Hello, everybody. Welcome to Market Moves. I'm Jason, the Wizard of Ops, and with me, as always, is Jay, aka Dark Matter. Jay, how you doing, man? How was your Labor Day weekend?
Pretty good. I got to go see Nebraska. We had our opening game last week in Kansas City. So usually my friend from middle school, best friend, we go out to a road game every season. So this was our road game. Our goal to be, hey, by the time we die, we'll try to get to as many stadiums that are away games. So I had a great Labor Day weekend, and that was because the team won. So there we go.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I barely keep track of anything with college sports at all, just because I think that it's it's very media driven, and it's just, and there's so many college teams, it's just I lose track of it. It's the same reason why I don't pay attention to the Marvel universe. There's so many heroes and stories and stuff. I don't have time for that. Just give me 32 teams split up into 6 divisions.
Well, I mean, the college football is basically becoming that, right? It's the Big Ten, it's the SEC. Find a way to split them up halfway.
Yeah, but they all have 20 teams each, 30 teams each. If they combine like all the mid-market ones and makes just six divisions, then there'd be like 40 teams in every division, and that's still too many for me. And then they can't even play each other. Forget it.
That's very true.
So anyway, all right. Well, Jay, it looks like this morning we're selling off, man. What's going on?
Oh man, some fun, right? So I guess if do you want to blame the dealers or do you want to blame something else? Let's maybe unwind a few things. So towards the end of last week, end of Friday's session, actually, you had the tariff warning come out, or blocking the Trump admin's decisions on the tariffs, right? So there feels like there's some movement because of that. I think because of that repercussion, you're starting to see rates fluctuate now. Are we going up? Are we going down? And then I think on top of that, you now have, obviously this week is all about jobs. Is the jobs market in a good place, doing worse? How's it doing? And then last but not least, I also just think you have this government shutdown that's looming. So are you seeing some volatility get ahead of that game? Potentially there's that. So I think there's 3 causes there. Which one can I exactly pinpoint to right now? Like I can't, but a lot of this is dealer driven. We did, we'll jump into the levels here. The minute we broke 64.50 overnight, and if you see the reaction, for those of you following ES, that was 64.60 on the ES levels. The minute we lost that, it was game over. And you can see that in the charts. The minute that level got lost, we bounced off of it on Monday's or Sunday's session, I should say. So you can blame whatever catalyst, but 64.50 was a major dealer level we lost. So there's that reason you're also selling.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I look at when I see that is looking at the VIX. There's a lot of short positioning in VX futures, and VIX options. So, I mean, once you cross over that 6,400 or 64.50 barrier, and now kind of inching in 6,400, VIX exploded. I think it's up like 3 points now, 2.8.
Yeah, it opened up at like 16 and a half.
Yeah, and what are we down, like just a little over 1%? If we are normally VIXed, if we're moving on that correlation, we should only be down maybe like 0.7, 0.8 on the VIX, which means that right now we are in, obviously we're probably not going to end the day here, but right now we are in the vol signal, the vol event threshold of 2 points of VIX more than it should be based on the correlation. So it's Monday too. There is a little bit of Monday effect, but there was no Friday effect. So I'm kind of discounting that a little bit here. I think this is a vol squeeze, and on a 64.50 support, and 6,400 support, if it is a Vanna support, then a vol squeeze would cause a passage of it, right? It would cause us to lose it. But I mean, I don't know. We'll go into your trade plan in a little bit, but what that kind of says to me, though, is that a vol squeeze is coming. Then, after you get that explosion of vol, you probably draw down quite a bit, but then you bounce, because then vol relaxes, everybody gets repositioned, and then all of a sudden people look at an 18, 19, 20 vol and are like, oh, this is expensive now, and try to sell it. So I think that these little vol squeezes are something that I think there's something that can cause a dip to buy, but we'll see. I mean, there's if there's news and stuff like that, and we keep falling, but vol keeps pacing us, appropriately, then I don't. We could keep dropping, but so far that's not really what I see. But anyway, go ahead. I'm taking over your trade plan. So
no, I'm pretty aligned with you. I think if you remember, it was like maybe 2 episodes ago here, we talked about, like, Hans was on the show. We talked about kind of a choppy market would start to form, a sideways market. And okay, yes, we did break out of 6480 and hit 6500 last week, right? But like, that was a slow grind up, right? And yes, we did make a new high, but I think you're starting to see some exhaustion there. And I think if you just look at, and we'll jump into here at the dealer levels, right? Like, we're just pinned. If you notice, like, anytime we've gotten below 6450, 6500, kind of this range, anytime we go below it, it's just like a magnet that comes back and sucks us up, right? You have some gamma there and some Vanna there as well. So I expect a little bit of the same. I think we're constantly just finding ourselves going sideways here. Maybe the range expands a little bit, but I think it's coiling and coiling. And yes, I think this month's not going to be as fun maybe for the bulls, but I also don't think it's going to be fun for the bears either. Unless that vol event, as you explained, arrives and shows itself.
Well, I mean, if vol event arrives, then that's especially for bulls, then it's time to lean in, right?
Yeah.
So, so let's go. Let's see what your trade plan is looking like.
Yeah, let's. Okay, so I think the biggest thing. So you kind of nailed a few things there. We still have some pretty strong, gamma in that 6480 to 6520 range, which is just going to make that pretty tough resistance, right? So I think if you're looking for a breakout trade, you got to see, like, at a minimum a weekly close above this range, right? Like that, and you need to start to see that gamma profile change. 6500, not so much a tower anymore. So until you see those things change, I think breakout traders are just not going to find themselves excelling until we get out of this positioning here, which looks like until September's OPEX, by the way. So just expect that.
Well, 6500 has become lightened up quite a bit last week.
True,
but but 6505 is that JPM strike, so that still kind of has that resistance kind of quality to it. 6600 has like a big, strong, resistance area. But right now that's not, I don't think that's our main concern. Our main concern is the support area. There is a lot of negative gamma, which means that any kind of reflux, any kind of bounce will, be pretty violent. So
yeah. Well, and just to highlight that, just while you're talking, sorry, just to showcase that.
Yeah.
Here's all that negative gamma that he's.
That's 6450. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, that's 6450 negative gamma. I mean, that's Friday, when I was talking about that being supportive. Obviously it assumes that vol isn't exploding at the time, but but that now that there's negative gamma there, that means that it's very permissive. Like you could go across that more and more. I mean, Vanna makes it supportive, but if it's negative gamma and we drop below, now you've got increased volatility area. So that's and what's the big tall green bar, what is that, 65?
05. Yep.
65.05. So that's the JPM strike.
Yep.
And that's where the resistance kind of starts, so that's, it's pretty clear, visual here of, that we were saying choppy markets 2 weeks ago. There's this big, huge negative gamma, range here, and that could cause a lot of choppiness. But since, Vanna is pretty supportive, you kind of have, a range in that choppiness. So that's,
You do.
what we're seeing.
Well, and if you even start to look at like weekly gamma and start to look at these profiles, right? Like here, you lost what was a weekly key, like a rather healthy support level overnight in 64.25. So you can obviously see here, this is a higher expiration regime, call it, instead of a push here overnight. This is not just like a weekly view, someone coming in with a whale, quote unquote, right, and using the markets here for this week. This is set up, and volatility is obviously increased overnight here, and from Friday's move, obviously, right? So you're just a negative gamma territory here. And let's just keep going in terms of where that can land into from a Vanna perspective. So let me go back there. So obviously Vanna, positive Vanna does not rise again until you get back up above 6,500 here. And we'll look at that for just a second. So there is some positive Vanna down below in support that we'll kind of call out and take a look here. And we're actually, Wiz, we almost trade at that level here. We're just a couple of points shy in futures, but we broke 6,400 FYI and traded near 6,375, which is essentially the support level that we'll get to here in just a minute. But here's my implications for the week. I still think that 6,450 to 6,500, this range here, this is a resistance until proven otherwise. And I think it needs that catalyst. Is that catalyst potentially then Thursday or Friday when we start to, sorry, that got broken up there. Is that potentially where we start to see the payrolls, the non-farm payrolls, right? The unemployment rate on Friday. Is that the catalyst potentially? So I think if we do get a breakout up or down, really, you're going to wait most likely until Friday again for any kind of move. The exception to this is all of the government shutdown, any rates, this tariff news in the background. I think that might be the focal point until Friday's jobs data. Go ahead.
Yeah, the two things that I would call out here too. Well, when is the government shutdown supposed to happen?
It's set for October 1, but the shuffling, dealing that they all do the month prior, right?
Yeah, I thought that I was about to say it's kind of odd if it's before budget, the budget year. But anyway, the two catalysts I would add onto this, or really one catalyst to add and one to kind of revise. Today, I think Trump is talking at 2. I think it's probably in response to the whole BRICS, thing that's happening. Yeah, I mean, there is like a lot of entangling alliances going on, and it's kind of weird, but I think it's overall, it's pretty, whatever Trump says, he can have a market impact at 2 p.m. or whatever. The second thing too is this is the first non-farm payrolls under, you could almost say, Trump influence. Last month, there was a very large revision down in all the labor categories, and Trump decided that it wasn't that his policies were wrong; it was the person who was making the statistics, and he fired her. Which it is what it is. But it. Regardless, he installed somebody else in her spot that I guess more closely aligned to Trump's circle or whatever, and he was even suggesting to suspend this report until they make better methodologies. Now, look, I mean, I worked in that building. I know these people, And yes, the methodology is antiquated and they could do a lot better with a lot more access and a lot more data now available these days. But to suspend the report would have been a bad idea. So I'm thinking that, assuming this report still is released and assuming that even there's a semblance of the same methodology, there is a lot of wiggle room for somebody, like the Trump installed, head of Bureau of Labor Statistics to alter the numbers. So, I mean, I remember, having survey numbers, having numbers there, and then it's just a swipe of a pen. And the next thing you know, it's like, how did my numbers get to be that? It was nothing. It had nothing to do with anything. And it's not like, these people who are, these GS14s who are leading these divisions are economic experts. They're just, people who own Caterpillar stock. So, so I think that Friday report, I'm more interested in seeing what it says in light of the fact that there is a new head of the Department of Labor, Department of Labor Statistics. So,
these all, speaking of jolts, it can have a jolting effect on the markets, right? Meaning, can we trust the data? I think that's what makes the U.S. markets so highly desired, right? Is you can trust it. There's a level of balance, right, and policing, call it, of these types of scenarios. So whether this or firing a Fed chair or a governor, right, on the Fed, right, I think these are all just things we don't do here. So it's just odd. I'll leave it at that.
Right.
All right, let's keep going. There's quite a bit here. We gotta get cooking. It's already 9 o'clock. I didn't realize how fast we were having fun. All right. So weekly expected move here about 86 points, 87 points. So that kind of puts you at the upper bound of 65.47. Could we make a new all-time high here this week? Potentially. But let's, as we discussed here, we have all of these catalysts to think about. The lower bound was or is 63.73, and we're basically at that level here. So I think just another FYI why that support level was an area of interest for me. All right, I want to go into VIX here because I think you nailed it. High level, I was looking at anything that's like north of 16 and a half on the VIX is going to bring some volatility into the market. If we get above and hold 18, which we're trading at about 19.22, I believe. This is like a stressful area when you look at the VIX profile versus the SPX profile. So we do need some volatility to get crushed here to get a little bit of a rally. Otherwise, like if this thing keeps going north and you break 19 and a half to 20, gets very dangerous, and you'll start to see here from some of the key levels what might potentially happen. But anything you want to add on volatility here?
Yeah, we're a little bit off your chart here in VIX. Somebody commented here. I'll throw this on there because we'll answer the question now. What's going on, SPX? Overall, I mean, there was a lot of short positioning in VIX and in VX futures. And this is a squeeze. This is a vol squeeze. And, when you get that kind of expansion of vol, you're going to get a downside. You're going to break those positive Vanna levels underneath. So that's kind of what we're seeing. I'm seeing now as a VIX is up 3 and ES, if that holds, that's negative 1.2%. Negative 1.2%. It's about 0.9 points on the VIX. Derek. Yeah. Yes. The COT report also Volland has showed, VIX shorts were at very high levels. And the VX, according to the CFTC, the VX futures had a lot of short positioning too. So this, I think, is a vol squeeze. And that's how you break Vanna supports, right? And because now there's a vol squeeze, you're going to get downside. However, when that vol squeeze is over, you're going to get a vol push to the upside. We are currently in vol event area, probably about, I think with negative 1.2%, I'd have to do the calculation, but I think it's like 0.8 VIX should be up, and VIX is up 3. So, we're about 0.5 VIX points higher than even the vol event threshold. So, it is Monday. There's that Monday effect. I mean, I'm saying this for the sake of people who missed it in the morning. So I think that this drop is probably a dip to buy, at least into September OPEX. And then we'll see from there. I think October is a little bit more dicey, but September OPEX seems still pretty bullish. But anyway, go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, no, I think I'm with you. 63.75 here. That was kind of my key level coming into before the overnight sell-off here. So we're right into a key support level. If you look at, for those of you in Discord here looking at our trade plans, there's quite a bit of dealer delta there to be supportive of that 63.75 zone as well. So what I would be looking out for, especially if you're an intraday trader, now you want to see this balance, to Wiz's points. No more volatility increasing, right? So profit takers there from a vol side would be ideal. As you start to see that compress down, that delta there is where you're going to start seeing dealers now trigger, buying to hedge their books again, right? So that's where, again, if you start to look at that gamma, like it's a magnet, that big 6,500 bar. It's like buy a dip as the opportunity is the way to look at this, right? With price looking to get sucked back up. So that's been the theme for the past few weeks. So I don't think we change here what we've been doing. Again, yeah, go ahead.
I will correct you. That third thing, that's more customer position, or you got a dealer position as long calls.
Yeah, I know. I was late in my game there last night. I was like trying to get this done. Thank you for correcting me there.
Yeah, no, it's fine. No, it's more for everybody, out there looking at that, being like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead. Anything else that, here?
No, so I think key levels here. Let's just talk about those. We kind of talked about some ranges, right? So we've to me, this is the key support level even on the week, right? We start to lose 63.75, like it gets even more ugly, and there must be some macro thing that is being pointed to here. So if you do see 63.75 lose, even with an increasing VIX there, that has room down to 63.30, 6300 even. So like the bleeding can continue if we lose 63.75. We hold this level, especially on the weekly level. I think we're just going to go back right to where we were at, basically end of last week. So, which is, that 64.80, 75 kind of range will be your first level of resistance. Maybe we see that push up to 6,500. And if we get a fall crush, then I see the breakout trade of 6,500 there. But that might have to wait until Friday, Wiz.
Yeah, I think, like you said, I think I'm expecting kind of a bounce as long as vol regulates. Below 63.75, the Vanna support is kind of gone, and you would need more of a vol crush in order to get back into the range. Or you'd need somebody to start buying in order to get back into the range of, that strong negative gamma and then, increasing Vanna. Or we'd want to see put buying, once you get below a certain level, then you start to see puts getting bought. You have to watch that. And once those puts keep getting bought, then you're getting more support. And we saw that during the tariff thing in April. We dropped below like that. You see that peak there in the bottom. We dropped below that, but that wasn't the end of the story. We saw puts getting bought below it. And then eventually when Trump reversed his tariffs or gave the delay or whatever, the 90-day delay, we rocketed. It was all those puts that were supportive, plus all the ones that were in the money with all that negative gamma, it went higher than I thought it would. So, I mean, overall, right now, I'm seeing this as a vol squeeze. And, when that ends, as long as we are above like this kind of supportive peak, or below, the price is above the supportive peak that you see here, I would expect a bounce, a vol event type bounce.
Yep.
Mhm.
All right, let's keep going here. So I think for me today, like, we've clearly broke 64.50. So I think the biggest, bestest trade, if you were not in overnight or shorting from last week, I think you got to be patient here this morning is the way I would look at it, Wiz. The biggest thing is let's see if we can find some balance here. The VIX and volatility, consolidating and finding some stability there. So I think if you do, we should springboard out of this. But to your point, there is a Trump statement earlier. I think you said later today. So just be on the lookout what that thing might be. There was, to your point, I think that some of the BRICS nations are meeting this week or today in China.
They already did. They already met.
Yeah.
I think possibly. The one thing I think it might be happening with Trump is he might like be addressing his health concerns. There was speculation last week that he was unhealthy of some sort. He had like these big makeup blotches on his hands and stuff like that. But all right.
Good Lord.
I mean, it could be that because he's very sensitive to what people are saying in the media. So, all right.
Got one more question. You want to?
I do want to talk about this. So, put buying is supportive, but sometimes drives further down line in the sand. While puts are getting bought, if they're getting bought to protect a current move, then it'll usher in more of a drop. But as they stay and as you drop below them, they become supportive. That initial, if they are speculative puts, that initial delta hedge is bearish, but then they become supportive as those hedges get released. So that's what happens there, Hedlund. It's more like immediate bearish swing or short-term bullish. All right, and now I think we have our Shama special. Yeah. If you guys bring up SoFi.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So 1 second. For those of you new to the show, Shama is a lovely woman who I met at the grocery store, and she is an avid watcher of the show. And she asked me every time I go and I'm bagging, she's like, "Oh, I bought an Amazon call or I bought an Apple call," and it's so she ends up wanting, I tell her, "I'll give you the Shama special on the show, and you pick the stock and we'll look at it and see what's going on." So now we're looking at the Shama special, which today is SoFi. This is like Shama's like longer term position. I think she said she has like a couple months in that. So she's very excited about this position.
All right, so here's Vanna for you. I'll start
for all
there.
Expirations.
Yep.
All right. I mean, that's looking pretty positive. Did SoFi like have a drop recently, or?
I'm looking at the stock chart here. Give me 1 second to pull it up.
I probably should have looked at it before the show. Maybe next time with the Shama special, we'll look at it before the show.
I mean, it's just, it had a sell off in August, like a lot of the other stocks did. It fell near $21, held that level, and it's honestly been consolidating north of about 19 and a half, since the beginning of July. So it's been choppy, consolidating. I think it's now finding its footing, right? So
yeah, I mean, it looks like it on here. There's people selling a lot of calls on there, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, it looks like for Shama's sake, I think SoFi calls might be a positive experience for her. There's what is that, up like 30 over there, right?
Yeah, you've got so the immediate one is 25, which we've that's been some resistance, in the interim. But yeah, you look at this, you got 30 and 32 here. So 32 is kind of that's
the largest one.
Big tower.
Yeah, but I think passing 25, I think would be a big deal. So yeah, I would be slightly bullish on this, maybe up to 30 as high, 30 would be the highest. Again, with these individual stocks, you always have to pay attention to the fundamentals too. With fundamentals, it's you never know kind of the fundamentals can move the stock pretty rapidly. So yeah,
And
here it looks like
here's
there's
its
a lot of
gamma.
there's a lot of short calls like way below. So a lot of positive gamma down there. And I saw it was like negative Vanna, right? A lot of in the money calls short. That's interesting. So, there is a shot for SoFi to go down, but overall, I think those negative gamma areas, which are probably puts, that'll probably be supportive. You're probably right. Like at these levels, it's finding its footing and is ready to bounce a little bit.
That'd
be my assessment.
Yeah, well, and I think if you look at the dealer positioning and then look at, like, let's say the technical charts, right, and review it, this is exactly what the chart is showing you, right? Stay north of about 20, 19 and a half-ish, right? You stay north of that, and right now you're kind of ping-ponging here between these two key levels, these two towers, right? So that essentially, that's what you want as a trader here, right? And if you hold this, it's like a slingshot back up, right? So that's what you want to keep an eye on SoFi here, and they're building this position too. I'm sure if we go back historically and look at this is just starting to get its footing, this 22 support here. So that right now, I think for SoFi, if you do see a dip here, 22.20 might be good opportunities here. If you're interested in a ticker, this might be one you want to, do some more research on then.
Yeah, poor Derek is short from 26, looking for 20. I mean, I think I'm not going to give like investment advice kind of thing, but I mean, I probably, if I don't know if I'd be looking at that, I'd probably be looking at longing at 20 as opposed to shorting from the highs. So,
well, and I also think you just got to be careful with 22, right? If that's now where the market feels like it finds a good price for SoFi, I think 22 might be where you're looking at. If I'm just looking at,
I want to highlight this thing that Derek said.
Yeah,
is a garbage company. Read their 10Q. Okay. Have you learned nothing from the GME, AMC, have you learned nothing? It doesn't matter. Hertz was at like 40 after it declared bankruptcy. Okay. I understand that there are fundamental things here, but does that mean the price is going to go down? No. I mean, fundamentals, especially, I think it depends on your time frame. If you're going to hold SoFi from, you're shorting it from 26, I would be looking at 2 years down the line on a fundamental thesis. Like, when you see all these fundamental traders, all their theses are like, their holding times are like 5 years, 10 years. And they're like, you can't determine these short-term things. I would just say that you can't determine these short-term things from your 10Qs. That's not where, there may be like some short-term jolts from earnings reports and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't disagree with you, Derek. It is probably a trash company. And, regardless, that doesn't mean that the stock is going to fall. So, yeah, so that's my comment on that. But all right, it's about 10 to open, right? So, Jay, may Volland help you in your future trading ventures.
I appreciate it.